And now, if he could only keep the robot here until he could get in touch with the men at the factory in Petersburg. Why, robots were worth money. The cheapest cost $50,000, he had once heard, and some of them ran into millions. Think of the reward. Man, oh man, think of the reward, and every cent for himself. Not as much as a quarter of a snifter of a plug nickel for Mirandy. Jumpin', tootin' blazes, no. He rose to his feet at last. "Al," he said, "you and I are buddies, pals. I love you like a brother." He thrust out a hand. "Shake." The robot swallowed up the offered hand in a metal paw and squeezed it gently. He didn't quite understand. "Does that mean you'll tell me how to get to Lunar Station 17? Payne was a trifle disconcerted. "No, not exactly. As a matter of fact, I like you so much I want you to stay here with me a while." "Oh, no, I can't do that. I've got to get to work." He shook his head. "How would you like to be falling behind your quota, hour by hour and minute by minute? I want to work. I've got to work." Payne thought sourly that there was no accounting for taste, and said, "All right, then, I'll explain something to you, because I can see from the looks of you that you're an intelligent person. I've had orders from your sectional executive, and he wants me to keep you here for a while, till he sends for you, in fact." "What for?" asked AL-76 suspiciously. "I can't say. It's secret government stuff." Payne prayed inwardly and fervently that the robot would swallow this. Some robots were clever, he knew, but this looked like one of the early models. While Payne prayed, AL-76 considered. The robot's brain, adjusted to the handling of a Jacinto on the moon, was not at its best when engaged in abstract thought. But just the same, ever since he had gotten lost, AL-76 had found his thought processes becoming stranger. The alien surroundings did something to him. His next remark was almost shrewd. He said slyly, "What's my sectional executive's name?" Payne gulped and thought rapidly. "Al," he said in a pained fashion, "you hurt me with this suspicion. I can't tell you his name. The trees have ears." AL-76 inspected the tree next to him stolidly and said, "They have not." "I know. What I mean is that spies are all around." "Spies?" "Yes, you know, bad people who want to destroy Lunar Station 17. "What for?" "Because they're bad, and they want to destroy you, and that's why you've got to stay here for a while so they can't find you." "But I've got to have a Jacinto. I mustn't fall behind my quota." You will have, Payne promised earnestly, and just as earnestly damned the robot's one-track mind. "They're going to send out one tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow." That would leave plenty of time to get the men from the factory out here and collect beautiful green heaps of $100 bills. But AL-76 grew only the more stubborn under the distressing impingement of the strange world all about him upon his thinking mechanism. "No," he said, "I've got to have a Jacinto now." Stiffly, he straightened his joints, jerking erect. "I'd better look for it some more." Payne swarmed after him and grabbed a cold, hard elbow. "Listen," he squealed, "you've got to stay." And something in the robot's mind clicked. All the strangeness surrounding him collected itself into one globule, exploded, and left a brain ticking with a curiously increased efficiency. He whirled on Payne. "I'll tell you what, I can build a Jacinto right here, and then I can work it." Payne paused doubtfully. "I don't think I can build one." He wondered if it would do any good to pretend he could. "That's all right." AL-76 could almost feel the positronic paths of his brain weaving into a new pattern, and experienced a strange exhilaration. "I can build one." He looked into Payne's deluxe doghouse and said, "You've got all the material here that I need." Randolph Payne surveyed the junk with which his shack was filled. Eviscerated radios, a topless refrigerator, rusty automobile engines, a broken-down gas range, several miles of frayed wire, and, taking it all together, 50 tons or thereabouts of the most heterogeneous mass of old metal as ever caused a junkman to sniff disdainfully. "Have I?" he said weakly. 2 hours later, 2 things happened practically simultaneously. The first was that Sam Toby of the Petersboro branch of the United States Robots and Mechanical Men Corporation received a visiphone call from one Randolph Payne of Hannaford. It concerned the missing robot, and Toby, with a deep-throated snarl, broke connection halfway through and ordered all subsequent calls to be rerouted to the 6th Assistant Vice President in charge of buttonholes. This was not really unreasonable of Toby. During the past week, although robot AL-76 had dropped from sight completely, reports had flooded in from all over the Union as to the robot's whereabouts. As many as 14 a day came, usually from 14 different states. Toby was almighty tired of it, to say nothing of being half crazy on general principles. There was even talk of a congressional investigation, though every reputable roboticist and mathematical physicist on Earth swore the robot was harmless. In his state of mind, then, it is not surprising that it took 3 hours for the general manager to pause and consider just exactly how it was that this Randolph Payne had known that the robot was slated for Lunar Station 17, and for that matter, how he had known that the robot's serial number was AL-76. Those details had not been given out by the company. He kept on considering for about a minute and a half, and then swung into action. However, during the 3 hours between the call and the action, the second event took place. Randolph Payne, having correctly diagnosed the abrupt break in his call as being due to general skepticism on the part of the plant official, returned to his shack with a camera. They couldn't very well argue with a photograph, and he'd be hornswoggled if he'd show them the real thing before they came across with the cash. AL-76 was busy with affairs of his own. Half of the contents of Payne's shack was littered over about 2 acres of ground, and in the middle of it, the robot squatted and fooled around with radio tubes, hunks of iron, copper wire, and general junk. He paid no attention to Payne, who, sprawling flat on his belly, focused his camera for a beautiful shot. And at this point it was that Lemuel Oliver Cooper turned the bend in the road and froze in his tracks as he took in the tableau. The reason for his coming in the first place was an ailing electric toaster that had developed the annoying habit of throwing out pieces of bread forcefully, but thoroughly untoasted. The reason for his leaving was more obvious. He had come with a slow, mildly cheerful spring morning saunter. He left with a speed that would have caused any college track coach to raise his eyebrows and purse his lips approvingly.